I'm finally going to tell my niece the truth. I'm sure this is a story you've seen 100 times. I have too. Enough to make me question whether my life is an episode of The Truman Show, if it was written by Redditors. Grab some snacks, maybe a drink. It's a long one. I'm Dan, 37M, and the first 20-odd years of my life were pretty normal, completely uneventful. I grew up having an incredibly close relationship with my older sister and younger brother, had loving parents, great friends. Everything was as it should be. We lived in a small cul-de-sac, which luckily for us had plenty of families that had children. This meant that we'd spend our evenings and weekends out playing. This was also how I met Jenny, 36F. I'll spare you the soppy details. We liked each other as kids and loved each other as teenagers. We were each other's first everything and all that bollocks. We never had the boyfriend-girlfriend chat, it just sort of happened. When I was 18, I moved away to university to study music production and sound engineering. Jenny stayed with her parents and eventually started working. I made sure to come home every other weekend to visit, and on the weekends I didn't. She came to me. I graduated at 21 and managed to find work at a small record label as a junior producer. Essentially, I was a runner for subpar indie bands, earning shit money and dealing with egos far too great for what their talents should have allowed. But the job was close enough to home that Jenny and I could move into a house that my grandparents had left me. Not long after, we found out Jenny was pregnant. She was ecstatic. I was absolutely terrified. For 9 months, I did everything I could. I decorated the nursery, made midnight trips to the shop to get Jenny whatever she was craving, paid for overpriced buggies and changing bags. It all felt worth it when Carl, 15F, was born. I remember looking down at this little person, feeling love like I'd never imagined, the type of love where you'd without doubt step in front of a moving bus if that meant they'd never experience pain in any shape or form. Our first year of parenthood was challenging, yet unbelievably rewarding. It felt like we were building the perfect life together. On the night of Coral's first birthday, I decided to propose, and so the shit show begins. While on one knee, box open, ring on display, Jenny starts to break down. At first, I thought they may have been happy tears, but the uncontrollable sobs begged to differ. The woman I'd spent years loving began to deliver a series of verbal blows that would change the course of my life. She tells me that she never wanted to hurt me, but she was no longer in love with me. This information did in fact hurt. She was in love with someone else, and had been cheating with this person since my second year of university. At this point, she was doing very poorly at not wanting to hurt me. The person she was cheating with was my younger brother Tim, 36M, and he was actually Coral's biological father, one in the back, one in the heart, dead. At this point, it felt like my soul left my body. No rage, no tears, nothing, just pure shock. I just stood up and walked away. I ended up walking for an hour to my sister's place. She opened the door, and I finally broke down. My sister Liza, 40F, got all the information she could from me, then sent me to sleep in her guest room, and by morning the news was out. Within a week, Jenny and Coral were gone, and Tim had been cut off from the family. Fast forward 14 years, I've done pretty well in my career, have been married to Maria, 33F, for the past 5 years, and we have 2 kids of our own, Jack 4M and Rosie 1F. My sister is happily married and has 3 awesome children, Kara 11F, Eva 9F, and Joey 5M. Tim and Jenny aren't married but are still together with another 2 children, 10M and 9M. My parents and sister maintain a relationship with Coral and her brothers. Without Tim and Jenny's presence, I have no relationship with them at all. This brings to the reason for writing this post. Yesterday I was driving home from work and was asked by my wife to stop at my parents' house to pick up the baby's bag that she'd left there earlier in the day. I knocked the door and Coral answered. I gave her a nod and a hi before heading into the kitchen to grab Rosie's bag. My parents were obviously shocked to see me, but understood that I was in a bit of a hurry to get out. As I was getting into my car, I hear her call to me. The moment I looked back, she started speaking. So you're the Uncle Dan that I've heard so much about. Kara and Ava don't stop talking about the amazing Uncle Dan who takes them to concerts and gives the best gifts. Apparently our little cousins are cute too. Not that I'd know. I've never met them. I don't think you're amazing, I think you're a prick. You're the reason I've never spent Christmas with Nan and Pops. You're the reason I have to console my brothers when Aunt Liza's kids show off the gifts that Uncle Dan got them and talk about the family trips you all took without us, all thanks to Uncle Dan. Why do you hate us? Why do our family get everything while we get nothing? Why does everyone try to change the subject whenever I bring it up? I just stared at her for a bit. All I could see was the baby I held in my arms 15 years ago, that love was still there. I replied, I don't hate you. Quite the opposite, actually. You're probably old enough to know the truth now. Meet me here tomorrow, and I'll explain everything, but be warned, you may not like what I have to say. And don't mention it to your parents. I'm going to meet her later today. I'm starting to doubt whether or not to go through with it. Am I making the right choice?